Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
Sean Bell.
All right.
And Matt Murray.
All right.
So, this week, I think it's going to be a new feature, Farley's Corrections, because he's been getting hammered on Twitter, the boy.
I'm glad that you brought this up, because actually I've got a list of things that I need to admit that I was wrong about.
Is this from the last show or just in life generally?
It is in life. Well, it's a bit of both, actually. It is a bit of both.
Go on. I'll hand it over to you then, James. I've got to hear this.
All right, so first of all, turning off motion controls completely in Star Fox. I wasn't right about that. You can't completely turn them off, so yeah, that was wrong.
I thought that. I said at the time, always trust John Denton. Turns out I was right.
Yeah, he was right. Okay, number 2, Zeppelins not being in World War One. Okay, although they were in World War One, they weren't in the way they were depicted in that trailer.
Listen, how are they depicted in that trailer? What are you talking about?
On the battlefield. They weren't on the battlefield. They were used for bombing
standing
raids.
There looking at a Zeppelin. It wasn't a battlefield. It was just a man looking at a Zeppelin.
The game's called Battlefield, David.
yeah, but it could mean anything.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so I was partially wrong about that.
I'd also like to point out the fact that you were the one pushing the fact that it was an alternate reality, not the actual World War One. So
that's what I'd heard. I'd heard that it was that, but apparently
so
that's
then it
also
would make sense of Zeppelins being on the battlefield, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's whatever. Anyway, look, can you just let me get through my list, okay?
I can't. I don't think I can.
He's doing his best here, Dave. Come on.
Okay, so the third thing I was wrong about was obviously recording the podcast recently. That didn't go so well. I was wrong about.
Wrong about it. It's just
well, not wrong. It was just a mistake, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, the fourth thing that the FA Cup wouldn't be on terrestrial TV. I admit I was wrong about that one.
Wow, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, David definitely remembers that one. He loves bringing that up.
I think we made that bet in a cafe in Sutton.
Yeah.
On early in the morning, you'd stayed over the night and we were having a fry up in a cafe, and you were like, "No, David, it's on Sky," and I'm like, "It's the FA fucking Cup, of course it ain't on Sky."
Yeah, so it turns out I was wrong about that one.
You were, yeah.
Okay, number 5, that Nintendo would drop the price of the Wii U. That didn't happen, as you.
No.
Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, I've got that's 5 things so far, but I'm sure there'll be more by next week.
Yeah, the tuner for the Xbox One.
That was no. You're not having that one. You're absolutely not having that one.
I am, but there you go. Let's not dig up old ground. But yeah, so you got battered on Twitter, and I was quite happy with that, to be honest with you, because
I thought you would be.
You're a smug little prick, and just to take you down a peg or two is, it's always good to see. Do you know what I mean? It was like watching Chelsea fuck up their season this season. It was funny watching James fuck up in life over and over again.
Yeah, thanks. It was great.
Yeah, bit of a weird week, really. It's been quiet on the old gaming front. Although, did anyone... I think the biggest thing that happened that I noticed on Twitter, because I've kind of been out of it, I've been sort of caught up in a little bubble of playoff football and playing Uncharted, but I did take a time out of that bubble to read the article about Lionhead on Eurogamer.
Mm-hmm.
Did everyone read that or no?
I did, yeah.
I made it about halfway through, and then I had to stop pooing and get on with my life, so...
And you haven't had a shit since.
No.
Really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought Peter Molyneux come off very badly in it.
Mm.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? It was good to see a little bit of insight, and I knew this story would come out, and I'm still convinced there's going to be a movie about Peter Molyneux. I think it's too. It's too easy of a story to take on. But the most interesting thing of the whole interview, though, was. For me anyway, was the whole Milo thing and what the original idea for Milo and Kate was. Did you make it that far, Sean?
No, I didn't.
See, that bit was genuinely brilliant, and it was very, very interesting. But especially that whole thing about how they were just going to have, you rearranging the room while his parents would be in the background just arguing. That was the
what? This is it, right? Okay, let me explain because I think the article focused on one aspect of the game. I had a feeling of what that game was originally intended to be after reading that and reading what people that worked on it had said about it. And I think they focused too much on one particular aspect of it. But if you go back and watch some of the Milo and Kate stuff, we know that the Connect stuff is bullshit now. But one of the sort of underlying emphasis of like what Peter Molyneux was trying to get out there was that you will feel connected to this child, right? That you are going to, you are going to have a relationship with this kid. And I think after watching the trailer, and understandably so, I'm not having a pop at anyone, but we sort of saw that as, okay, Milo's like a Tamagotchi then, and we're kind of raising him. But no, when you hear the original idea was that you were this little boy's imaginary friend. That was the concept for the game. And one of the examples that was given, now this was kind of misplaced in the article as this is what the game was. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was that. But one of the parts of the game that was spoken about was that you would be helping him tidy his room while you hear his parents arguing downstairs. And then you get... And when you think about that moment, right, although you like your initial reaction, taking that out of context, you're probably thinking, fucking hell, that's a bit strong and depressing. But I think that was just one of the tools they were going to use to sort of connect you to the character of Milo. I thought it was an interesting idea and an interesting way of making you connect. If the whole game was that obviously it would be horrible and you wouldn't want to play it. But I think the original idea was try and get the player to interact with this character in a way that they haven't before. So that's where Connect come in. But also make you really feel for the character that you're interacting with, like have an emotional connection with them.
Yeah, because I guess it's like, I presume the implication is that, trauma, or not necessarily trauma, but like just shit at home is the reason he felt the need to create an imaginary friend.
Exactly.
And it's a bit like, look, this is horrible and it's why you exist. It's why you're here.
That's exactly it. And I think that is a mind blow. That's an incredible idea. That I think what went wrong is that when we first saw it as a tech demo for Connect. We didn't see it as a game that was trying to, emotionally engage you and connect you to this character. We saw it as a tech demo for Connect, and it turns out that the stuff that they were shooting for was, it's not even possible now, let alone back then. So back then, we were kind of blinded with not what this could be, this game. It was, look what it can do. And I think that's where the whole Milo Kate thing just sort of fell apart. The focus of the game sort of shifted, and inevitably it was canned and it never came out. But
one of the things they said though was the fact that they hadn't really worked out what the game was, like what to actually do.
No, see, because I read that as they didn't work out what the gameplay was. Rather that they had the concept for the game and they had the idea and they had the basic feel of the game there. I think that's, literally just going through the few quotes that are in that article about it. What they didn't have down was how you were going to interact with him and how they were going to bring this Connect stuff into their initial concept. And that's a bit of a shame, really, because it sounds like a whacked out game that you find deep down in a Steam sale. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, ooh, emotions. But damn, it kind of makes me wish that it did come out in some form. You know what I mean? Because that idea of you being an imaginary friend to this character on screen just sounds really gripping to me. I don't know why. I really like the idea. But that's the problem with Molyneux stuff, isn't it? The ideas always grip you, but they never never actually execute.
What's quite interesting about it is like the way that they built this whole sort of demo for us to see, which I remember when that came out and everyone was like, that's amazing, this is like really the future, like look how great Connect is. But you're thinking, why did they do that? When it was clearly all like staged and it was all that way. Why do that?
I don't think anyone goes out to intentionally lie to their audience.
No, I'm not saying they were intentionally lying. I'm saying that they were like clearly shooting for something that probably wasn't possible. Why would you set yourself up for that fall? Do you know what I mean?
But again, I don't think. I mean, it would make stupid business sense to put something out like that, knowing Kinect's limitations at that point. I think maybe they thought by the time it comes out, that's what the sort of stuff that they're going for. I mean, if you look at all the promotional stuff for Kinect just before it come out, it was things like hold up your skateboard and it will scan it into the game. You know, it was stuff like that. I just think that the end product was nowhere near their initial expectations. So they'd gone out and told developers, yeah, you can scan shit in. Yeah, it can pick up when you're holding stuff up to the screen and all that sort of, holding stuff up to the camera and all that sort of stuff. And then when the final product came out and it wasn't able to achieve that, I don't know who's to blame there. I find it hard to blame Lionhead for that if they were told that this product was able to, you know, do the stuff that they were promising. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough one. The other funny bit of that article I thought was when they were talking about Fable Legends, and they were working on this game for a while. And if you played not Fable Legends, sorry, Fable the Journey, the Kinect game where you sit down. And like they'd been working on the game for a while and stuff, and they knew what the game was, and they were just building it. And someone asked Peter Molyneux a question at E3 saying, "The game looks on rails. Is it on rails?" And Peter Molyneux said, "It's absolutely not on rails." And the development team were like, "What?" Yes, it is. Like they'd literally designed the game so that the environment disappeared behind the camera as the camera was going forward. Like, it was literally disappearing so it could load the next bit. All of a sudden, he's telling them, yeah, just look about. You literally couldn't look behind you because there would be nothing there to see. Yet, he was telling everyone you can. And apparently he walked into the studio and said, right, I've got an idea for a special move we could use for Fable the Journey, where you zoom up into the air, look down across the map, and then start firing lightning bolts down at enemies and stuff. And they were like, that's actually impossible. That's literally impossible. And then there was the stuff about how, what was Fable 3? So Molyneux was working on Milo and, everyone calls it Milo and Kate, but Kate was only in that fucking promotional video. But Molyneux was working on Milo. And, someone else was working on Fable 3. He didn't really have much to do with it until he come in just before, what was it, months before it came out, and said, no, I want this Road to Rule stuff in there, and I want this end game.
Are you kidding? That's why that was so shit.
That's why it was so fucked, because he come up at the end and said, no, I want all this stuff in there, and they had to try and cram something in, like, weird. Because if you remember correctly, like, the first, half, maybe even 3/4 of Fable 3 were decent. Like the quest that really sticks out was the board game one.
Yes.
Where you shrink down and you've got this whole quest where you're playing inside a board game. You know, that stuff was genuinely good. And the stuff right at the start where you were like walking around the palace as a young, you know, soon to be king, that was really cool stuff. It just fell apart at the end, and that's the stuff that people remember the most. And that is literally Peter Molyneux sticking his oar in.
The final boss that is just a boss that you've fought before, but it's possessed by another character. And then the ending sequences, it's literally just some text on the screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
It's so bad. It was literally just going, hey, do you want to build this hospital? Like, it was, that was it. It was, do you want to build this hospital or do you want to build a casino?
Yeah.
And like, if you build a hospital, it's like, oh no, the people hate you.
Yeah.
If you build if you build the casino, the people hate you. If you build the hospital, you get no money. So it's like, it was just, if you wanted to be a good guy, you were skint. If you wanted to be a bad guy, everyone hated you. It's just that, and that was moral, I guess.
You could still make plenty of money just on property if you were good. So it's fine.
Yeah, but I couldn't be asked with all that stuff. What? I mean, James, you're made for this stuff. What did you think of it?
What do you mean by that?
Like, you love hearing about companies failing and all that sort of shit.
No,
you must have loved this article.
That's completely unfair. But I did actually enjoy the article a lot. It was.
I fucking knew you would.
The article was great. I mean, the thing that I did think that was kind of sad though about the whole thing was that, like, I think Molyneux set up Lionhead to be like this sort of like studio that would do like experimental, like new things. You know, like you had like Black and White, and they were going to try and make, you know, basically new stuff. But then it just became a studio really about Fable. but Fable wasn't even their game. Like, it was from which studio was it that had it originally?
Big Blue Box.
That's
Big
it, yeah.
Blue
And they were
Box,
like
that's
brought into Lionhead, so it's like it wasn't even theirs. Like in the first place.
Yeah, I thought that bit in the story was really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
But then, without Lionhead's input, I don't think Fable would have quite been Fable. I know people said that they were liking it and stuff, but I mean, especially for Fable 2, I didn't play the first one, but especially for Fable 2, that took a step forward with. You could see Molyneux's input in that game and where it was, where it worked well. So I'm not 100% sure, saying, well, it wasn't really their game.
No. I'm not saying it's not their game. What I'm saying is that I don't think that that's what he envisioned, like, sort of setting up the studio for, was to be like working on sequels to Fable. That was not the intention in the beginning.
No.
And the fact that it wasn't even their game in the first place must have been a bit kind of annoying that they were kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, weird one. I mean, there's no doubt. I probably don't have as much love for Lionhead as most people, but I do still. It's still very sad when a UK developer, but any developer really, gets shut down like that.
Do they,
especially when they were mid-game.
Sorry, go on.
They put in so much promotion work to Fable Legends and just gone, just not coming out.
But that was like death by sort of like committee, wasn't it, that game? Because it just, they were basically screwed by the whole Xbox One thing, the changing direction, games are a service, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I don't know what you mean.
Well, you know how, I mean, it really felt like from reading like towards the end of that article that like one of the things that really damaged Lionhead was the fact that, Don Matrick was like the head of Xbox and had changed like what the focus of Xbox was going to be. And they were kind of dancing to that all the time. And it didn't really work out.
No.
That makes sense. Does he, I think I'm already past the bit where it might have come up, but in the article, do they ever mention the final demon door in Fable 2?
No.
I don't think they do, no.
Because this is something, I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone else who's seen it. And I've never, nothing's ever been written about it, and someone probably should. And it sounds like it's going to have to be me one day. But so, in Fable, there was all the demon doors, and they all had, there's just these giant talking doors, and they've all got weird requirements to open them. And then behind each one, there's, a little area with some items in it and stuff. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, one of them, you had to get your dog to roll over or some stuff like that.
Yeah. But, some of them were a huge pain in the arse. And, the stuff behind some of the doors, some of it was a bit, some of it was quite creepy, and sometimes they're just these, beautiful little areas and stuff. And again, it's usually just, a chest with some cool items in it. And
I think I know what you're going to say.
Did you ever do the final one?
Are you talking about, the... I don't know the correct way to say this, but the sort of shrine?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I do. I think I have read something about this.
Yeah, so you basically, you unlock, but in order to unlock the final demon door in the game, you have to have done all the others, which is a hell of a task. But yeah, you go through the final one, and it's this big song and dance about it, and you go into this area where it's just visually, it's just absolutely stunning. It sort of goes up onto this little sort of, I think it's like a cliff edge, and there's trees all around you, and there's this giant waterfall, the rainbow and stuff. And there's a chest, and it's got some money in it, which by this point in the game you don't really need it. So it's that's a bit weird. And and then at the edge of this little cliff, there's a little plinth with, I think it's got a book on it. And you open that, and it just comes up with some text on the screen. It's like a poem, and it's signed with this guy's name that unfortunately I can't remember. And I was like, well, what's the significance of that? So I Googled it, and it was one of the testers who was working on the game, and he was 18, 19 years old, died in a car crash.
Yeah.
So it's this whole thing is just a little memorial to this guy. It's like I say, it's supposed to be this final thing you do in the entire game, and you're expecting a big fucking sword or some shit like that. And and you just get this memorial to this guy.
Well, what that does for me anyway, that confirms the sort of nicer side of this article, that at that period of time during the development of Fable 2, they genuinely, they were being ridiculously overworked. It was, as you've heard a million times before in the gaming industry, it was disgusting, working conditions and stuff like that. but they all felt like a family. Like everyone was very close as they were putting this game together. I don't know how true that is and how much is that, just people remembering things in a nice way. But I mean, there was a lot of people saying, I fucking hated it. It was hard work and blah, blah, blah. But, I loved the people that I was working with, and that really drove us through. That was the feeling behind it. So, sort of, you can understand why they would dedicate such an important part of the game to something like that. Yeah, weird one. Shame, and I just hope all those people that made Fable 2 as good as it was are all happily working on something new now.
It's always a weird feeling, isn't it? Like when Red Dead Redemption came out, and there's been all these stories about how horrible the development was, and how like people haven't seen their families in 3 months and stuff, and then you play it and it's like, oh, but it is really good.
but I am enjoying this computer game. Yeah. So it's like when you put a new shirt on that you know has been made in a sweatshop. You're like, actually, it feels pretty good. So and it's like probably get that blood stain out.
And you sort of, you don't. It's hard to know how to feel, because if I'd like nearly killed myself working on something, the least I could hope for is that people would then enjoy it. Like, to work so hard on something for everyone to then like boycott it.
Yeah, this
like, for fuck's sake, will you at least play
it? Yeah, weird. Anyway, nod to you, Lionhead. Not gone but not forgotten. All right, good. Was there anything else that cropped up this week? There was some pretty weird stuff going on in the WhatsApp group earlier. Something about review scores or something, Matt?
Well, only the fact that the Washington Post gave Uncharted 4 out of 10 and the internet burst into flames.
I read the Washington Post review actually, but I didn't see a score on it. Like, it wasn't prominent, unless my eyes were fucked. But I was looking at it on the mobile version. I couldn't see the score.
No, it doesn't have a score on the actual review, but it was sent to Metacritic.
Yeah, they
really?
work it out based on somehow. I don't know how they do it. It's basically made
Hold
up.
on, so Washington Post didn't actually give it a 4?
No.
Metacritic worked it out from what?
They did give it a 4, but they didn't put a 4 on their reviews, because I gather that's not what they do, but they did supply the 4 out of 10 to Metacritic.
Oh, okay.
That's weird.
Or there was a 4 in the text somewhere. So they just assumed it was that.
I read the review and I kind of thought, okay, he doesn't like these games. And there's a point where we've got to start working out if games, how subjective games are. Like...
they're totally subjective. That's the thing.
They're not totally subjective though, are they? Because then you've still got technical issues and, basic gaming mechanics that can be shit, without question. I don't think all games are subjective, are they?
I mean, yeah, they can be mechanically bad.
That's true, but then some people can still get enjoyment out of it, even if they're mechanically bad.
Me and Earth Defense Force, for example.
Yeah, but then when it comes to review those, James, if a game is mechanically bad, you can't review it and think, yeah, but some people might not care about it.
No,
if it's mechanically bad, it's got to go in. What I'm saying, right, is that Uncharted 4, we'll get to our opinions on that in a bit. What I'm saying is that when reviewing a game, if you dislike the game, then shouldn't that come out in your review? Shouldn't you be able to write that without getting absolutely...
But a good critic should recognise what other people will find to enjoy about it.
But should they change their opinion to suit, though? That's the question.
Well, again, are you putting your opinion across, or are you producing a piece of criticism?
But isn't piece of criticism based on your own opinion?
Not always.
It's a difficult one, because I think I fundamentally disagreed with pretty much all of that review. Mm-hmm. I see the game in a very different light, but at the same time, I just thought, well, hold on, are we having a go at this guy for... it's so tough, because when fucking Polygon do it, I kick off. So I'm part of the problem as well. But I feel... I don't know.
If Polygon do it, it's because it's really badly written. It's one of the reasons.
it's just a hard thing. But this wasn't a badly written review. It just the guy didn't like the game, and it's kind of like, should we be like saying, okay, regardless of how good I think the game is, if you don't like it, then you're entitled to that opinion. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like maybe this is a cop out, which means it definitely is. I just feel like there's enough games writing getting chucked around these days that like you can find people that agree with you no matter what. If you want super objective games criticism, it exists. If you want really subjective games criticism, that exists. And like, but regardless of that, anyone should be mature enough to be like, well, I enjoyed it, you didn't. Who cares?
Which they're not going to do. I mean, that's just not the way the internet reacts to things these days. Although, saying that, I mean, I'm not massively into films, but you do notice very varying opinions on films out there. Like when you read film reviews, like literally some people will give it 5 stars, some people give it that same film 2 stars.
Yeah.
Is the reaction the same? I don't know. I'm not in that community. I don't really know that community well.
But I mean, also part of this is reviewers that are like writing this way to get clicks as well.
But then is it too easy to sort of just sit back and say that?
No.
They're just doing it for clicks.
But yeah, okay. Look at that. Look at the review of Star Fox Zero on Polygon. I mean, there's no way that he didn't write that without the intention of thinking a lot of people are going to. Maybe they're going to be angry with me about this, but a lot of people are going to click on it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'd love to speak to someone who actually does this for a living and get their take on it, because I think it's a tough one. I can almost guarantee that everyone that's done it for a living, like reviews games for a living, has had the beatdown from certain parts of an internet over a review that they wrote, literally just offering their opinion on a game. I'd like to see their take on it, because I just find it very strange to get angry at a review that you don't agree with, because it's not saying... I read the review and it didn't necessarily say it was a bad game. It kind of just said, I wish this was better, or this is just not what I enjoy in video games, and I'm past the point in getting angry about that side of things now.
I think what amazes me is like, who feels that Uncharted 4 needs people to stick up for it? Like, like if this was something really niche and a big website had written a review to completely missing the point and absolutely trashing it, like I could sort of understand people getting upset about that, but like. Who are like, oh no, Uncharted 4's not going to sell as well now because of one review. What are we going to do?
Yeah, what's the end goal of the moaning there?
Yeah, exactly. What was really disappointing was that Troy Baker tweeted the petition to get the review pulled.
There was a petition. Sorry, what? There was a petition.
Yes,
yeah. Not to pull the review, just to get it taken off Metacritic. And Troy Baker tweeted it, which was a bit embarrassing.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is. Troy Baker being one of the voice actors in the game. For
but what I'm saying is that's weird that there's a petition to get a review.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Down. But it's the internet, of course. There bloody is.
Fuck, I don't know if I should be. I don't know.
Do you know what else annoyed me? Oh no, sorry. This is just sulking about websites now. Forget it. I'll talk about it in a minute.
No, go on. What were you?
It was. So I like PC Games N. I don't know if you guys ever go on it.
No.
Like even obviously because everything's fucking cross-platform now, so even if you don't have a PC, it's just quite a good games website. No, they had an article up the other day that was like, or a news item rather, that was like Cliffy B fucking slams the new Doom, and it was like all it was like basically he'd been tweeting about it, saying he's really enjoying it, but then at one point just said, I don't know if the execution thing's that smart because we had that in Gears of War and I sort of regret it. But anyway, sorry, that's a tangent. Yeah, that apparently that qualifies as him going in for the kill.
That's the usual sort of sensationalism that everything's falling into these days, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking nonsense, like making mountains out of molehills and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like that stuff either. But sorry, Matt, this was your subject, and we've kind of like just jumped on it.
I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up just because I thought it was interesting and also ridiculous. And, this whole should we review games? What should scores be? Should it be out of 10, out of 5? No reviews whatsoever. This is going to keep going and going, and I just find it really interesting.
I mean, there's certain calls from the internet saying that, review scores don't matter, but they clearly do. I mean, they clearly do. Then there's the argument that, well, 5 is an average game and 6 is, above average. Now, that's changed now. That's just fundamentally changed. The translation of a 7 or an 8 score is completely different to that mentality of 5 is average, 6 is above that. Like, each number has its own feeling to it these days. Like, so when I write a review, I tend to write the review and not... I think about the score as I'm playing it. This feels like an 8. This feels like a 9. Do you know what I mean? That's how I do things. And you're not sitting there thinking, well, this is an average game. It deserves a 5. Because as we know, average games now probably sit around the 7 mark more than anything else, which sounds ridiculous, and it is. But that's the translation. That number at the end is trying to push your point across of your feeling of that game. Forget the 2,000 words you've written before it. That is the kind of a little stamp next to it. So yeah, the review score argument is always a really difficult one to get into, but I like them. Like I tend to look at the number before I actually read the review, which maybe you shouldn't do. I don't care, but that's naturally what I do. Oh, what score did they give it? Then I read the review. And I bet you all do that as well.
I don't really bother with scores these days.
Yeah, you're not that bothered.
No,
really.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just the wrong person to be talking about this because I tend to just I know who I like and I know who I listen to when it comes to reviews. Like if like Chris Schilling's written something or various other people, I know who I'm generally in line with. And I just enjoy reading their stuff. So there's scores I don't know, not really that fussed. That said, if I'm excited about a game and then it gets a 7 in Edge, that's usually a fucking guarantee I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
So,
was it a 6 or 7? Is usually the big thumbs
6,
up from Edge?
6 usually means
6, yeah.
It's guaranteed classic.
Right, okay. I mean, that's an age-old argument. We should probably move on. What was there anything else anyone wanted to talk about before we get into what we've been playing? No?
Nah.
Good. Right. Matt, we should probably get the ball rolling, really, shouldn't we?
Let's do it.
Uncharted 4, then. You've just come off the back of 1, 2, and 3. I've not played 3 since it was launched. How are you finding Uncharted 4?
I'm really, really enjoying it. I did say on the last episode that I probably would leave it a couple of weeks until I'd played 4, but
you totally
Tuesday
crumbled,
came
didn't you?
And I couldn't resist.
Yeah, you text me and just go, right, I'm going on Amazon Prime and getting it delivered in 3 hours.
And I did just that.
So yeah, you've decided, let's do this first, because you've decided to stream this, because you did 1, 2, and 3. You thought, well, I should really do 4.
Yeah.
But I can already tell that you're regretting that decision.
A bit. It's interesting streaming Uncharted 4 because no one wants to watch it. And there's many reasons why that could be the case. Eurovision on Saturday was one reason, maybe. But actually, I think... Well, actually, I've got a fair few tweets from people saying that, one, they would like to watch it, but they're playing the game currently, so they're not going to watch it. Or they're playing, but they haven't quite got to the bit I'm at, so they don't want to spoil the game. Or they just don't care about the game, and they're not going to watch it. And
Yeah.
I think, unlike maybe other indie games where people are trying to work out whether it's worth them spending the money and they'll watch a stream to see what the game looks like, or other new games maybe, but a game like Uncharted where it's been out since, obviously the first game came out in 2007 or 2009, it's quite old series. People already know whether they want it or not. And so the four games out, they're either going to be playing it or they're just going to be ignoring it. So it's an interesting game to stream just because I don't think people really want to watch it that much. They're either going to be playing it or not. Also,
there's
go
also
on.
the thing that I mean I've played the first, when I played the first couple of hours before you'd booted it up, and within those first 2 hours I was like, Matt's gonna regret streaming this, and I'll tell you why, because this game, unlike the first three, focuses on characters a lot more. There are a hell of a lot more cutscenes at the start of this game and throughout. I mean, it's all cutscenes. There's a lot of cutscenes and character development and stuff. And where you can kind of get away with that in the first three, because it's essentially, I mean, who remembers the actual story of the first three? I mean, but I bet Matt's even forgotten most of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of a bit part, and the main focus was the character interaction rather than the story themselves. In this, it's literally about the characters and what they're going through emotionally. And I think missing that, because when you're streaming, you're not concentrating on cutscenes, not at all. You've got a camera in your face, you're trying to be entertaining, whatever. You're missing all that stuff. You're missing a huge portion of Uncharted 4 by just not focusing on these cutscenes and the character dialogue during missions and stuff. So I kind of thought, fuck, man, you might want to stop doing that now, because this looks like you want to get, you want to dive into it properly.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's the
streaming.
fact that if I find myself with a free half hour, I can't just jump on and start streaming, and I would rather just be playing. But yeah, it's interesting.
Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah, looks good. Looks stunning. Looks absolutely mind-blowing stunning.
Firstly, I mean, it's the best looking game I've ever played, easily. I mean, bar probably PT, because PT was, literally just a hallway, so it had the advantage of just making that hallway looking very, very good. The graphics in this are incredible, like absolutely some of the locations are just insanely good looking. There's a little bit later on, Matt, it's not a spoiler, but there's it starts raining quite heavily.
Oh,
and
fucking, what a spoiler.
Yeah, and it is jaw-dropping. That whole section was jaw-dropping. It just looks second to none. I think the fact that they've definitely reduced the amount of shooting involved is it benefits the game a little bit more. Basically, the game now feels a little bit. It's easy, cliche to compare it to, but it feels a little bit like Manhunt now. So whereas before there was a lot of walk into a room, floods of enemies turn up, you've got to keep firing away and killing them until they've gone. This time it's like a huge area filled with enemies, and basically the best way of getting through it is by stealthing the way through it. So climbing off the side of cliffs, shuffling over and pulling someone down, or hiding in bushes and stuff like that, and taking people out as they walk past. That stuff feels really good. Like you're picking people off one by one, and it
really does.
It does that excellent thing where if you die, it takes you back to the last checkpoint where they weren't alerted. So at no point are you suddenly in a gunfight again, and at no point are you shot way back to the start, so you've got to do the whole stealth bits again. It just takes you back to just before you were alerted to you alert the guards, and you can just push through it that way. So if you keep fucking up, eventually you'll find a way through. But the combat seems a little bit tweaked. I mean, not massively so. The aiming's a lot better than it has ever been in the Uncharted games, which is it's always had a problem with aiming. There's always been either a little bit too floaty or whatever. This one's definitely a little bit more snap auto aim stuff, which is good. The climbing. I mean, I like to see this. This is supposedly, I'm not at the end now, but supposedly this is the end of Uncharted, right? And it makes that very clear at the end of the game. I'm kind of all right with that now, because I think as much as I like these games, there's no doubt that sometimes the climbing stuff is a bit boring. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, there's one bit. I mean, I guess we should say where we are up to in the game. What chapter are you up to?
13 now, I think.
Okay, cool. I've just finished chapter 8, basically.
Yeah.
And there is a chapter with a lot of climbing, and it wasn't terribly great.
Well, it's not that it's not great. I mean, it's still fun to do. There's a lot to look at and stuff like that. It's like, where do you go from here? Because essentially the climbing is still pretty much the same as it was in 1. And I'm not tired of it. I'm not bored of it. but I do kind of think I don't really want another game like this now. You know, Tomb Raider is slightly different because it does things differently. You know, I find the whole climbing stuff in that a little bit more freeform, whereas this, it's very rigid. This is the way to go. You've got to, you know, climb this way. I don't know. I just kind of think that the whole how do I put it? Climbing's not boring, right? When you look at the way Crackdown did climbing, now climbing in Crackdown was very much, can I get up there? And then working out a way to get up there. And sometimes you'll get halfway up and realise, no, there's not a way to get up there. I've got to jump back down and do something else, right? It feels like you're trying to find a way up to the top of whatever you're trying to climb. In the Uncharted games, it was you're looking for the next bit of rock that you're supposed to jump onto. And that's the difference there. You don't get the satisfaction by reaching the top. You just get that feeling of, okay, I've found the right way across this rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it very much. It does feel like you could do it with your eyes closed. Really, there's no real excitement about doing it. You just tapping right, press X, right X, left, right X. It's not terribly exciting.
Yeah, and it's kind of signposted with
that.
like Nathan Drake sort of like reaching out to the next thing that you're able to climb on and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm not slagging the game off. What I'm saying is that I think the series has now taken that stuff as far as it possibly can, and because it's such a huge part of Uncharted, I wouldn't want to see an Uncharted 5 because I can't see how they can improve on that. They've tweaked a few things, like there's a whole bit where you're doing that stuff while staying in stealth at night time, and that kind of adds a little bit more sort of game to it. It makes it feel a little bit more like it's adding to the climbing mechanics. But other than that, it's like kind of okay, that's fine, but I'm still doing the same stuff again. It does play around with stuff like that though. Actually, there are things that you're used to doing in Uncharted games, and it puts its slight little tweak on it. Now, I don't consider this a spoiler, but I'm sure there are people out there that freak out about this sort of stuff. So if you don't want to hear anything, it's for those that have played it, it's at the auction scene. And so if you're not up to that and you don't want to hear anything, fast forward about a minute. But there's a bit there's an auction, right? And they're selling something that you want, but you can't afford it. So you're trying to steal it. And at one point, you're trying to get to a power generator to turn it off on the building that you're in. Now, while you're doing this, Sully is trying to buy time in the auction. And so you're telling him to bid for whatever the thing is that you're trying to steal. And the cool thing is that you're rushing around to try and shut the generator off. Meanwhile, you're hearing the price of the item that you're trying to steal go up in your ear. And like Sully getting a sweat on going, look, Nate, hurry up, man. I mean, it's $150,000. Like, I can't afford this shit. And it's getting higher and higher. And for some reason, that really got to me. Like really put me in a panic. And I'm constantly hearing in my ear, $1,600. Like, and you were like, Jesus fuck, we need to... It's really clever. Really, really clever. Just little moments like that take what you're used to doing in an Uncharted game and put a little spin on it to make you a little bit more invested in what you're doing, I think works. And when it tries that stuff, not only with little tricks like that, but also with adding depth to the characters and, you know, Nathan Drake going, like seeing him come out of his new home life and watching him lie to his wife and stuff like that. That really comes across and adds weight to everything you do in that game, and as a result gets you like a lot more interested in what's going on.
Yeah, it does loads of interesting stuff with the themes of family and relationships and that sort of stuff. I won't say much more, but it does, even in the early chapters I played, it does some really interesting stuff there.
Well, that's it. I mean, we could probably talk about the stuff in the loft, right?
I mean, I guess. I mean, people are precious about any sort of spoiler.
Yeah, but again, it's I don't know. It's very early on in the game. You're in the loft of your family home as Nathan Drake, and you've just got the option to look around. And there's artifacts from your previous, the previous games. It's nods to the previous games. But then there's a bit where you find a toy gun, and then you get to control him as old Nathan Drake, from the earlier games for a little bit while he's up doing normal shit up in a loft, like living his life like a normal person. But for that brief moment, it gives it it instantly tells you that, hold on, he's not finished with all this stuff. He still enjoys it, like rolling around the attic and shooting at targets and stuff like that with a toy gun. And you reminisce with him because it's the first time you get to experience. Is it the first time you get to experience the combat stuff, or is that right at the beginning? I think it's right at the beginning. There's a little bit of it, but it does sort of take you back a little bit as the character is like reminiscing of the past as well.
Yeah,
and
especially
really
the fact he's
connects.
looking over old artifacts, and then he gets his gun, and it definitely evokes a strong emotion in me. It's just really, really fun, and it got me excited for whatever's coming next.
There's also, and I won't spoil it because I think this is a wonderful thing that the Gaming Press have done, because there's a bit of a moment in Chapter 4 where you go, whoa, where the fuck has this come from? This is weird. Why is this happening? This is brilliant.
It's a brilliant moment.
It's so easy for the Gaming Press to just whack that up as a video on YouTube before the game come out. But it was as if there was like some sort of unwritten rule where all these game sites got together and went, do you know what? Let's not spoil this bit. Let's let them discover it. So, yeah, I love that. I love the fact that hasn't got out. And if you're playing it and you probably know what I'm talking about, don't tell anyone about it because it's nice. It's just a nice, stupid little moment that I love. And it would be a shame if like everyone knew about it. It's cool. It's doing a lot more than I thought it would be doing. Put it that way.
The cutscenes and the animation, the facial animation, the dialogue, everything. It looks incredible this time. I mean, the graphics of the facial animations it's mind blowing, isn't it? Do you not think?
And it really does add character to it as well. I mean, you can really see there's a moment later on. I don't think you're there yet, but there's a moment later on where Nathan Drake's view of the mission they're on changes slightly, not fully, but it just changes a little bit, and that totally comes across in his facial animations thereon. Even the way he walks is slightly different. I might be imagining that, I might be projecting that on myself, but there's a different feel to that character after a certain scene, and you go, wow, fuck, they've done this mainly using the sort of new technology that you've got in the PS4 now. The extra power there has made me see stuff in this character that I've never been able to see before in a video game. Kind of what L.A. Noire did or tried to do, but without the dramatic, facial expressions that look like they were more suited to CBeebies or whatever. This looks like genuine human emotion going on the screen. It's really clever.
There's so many subtle touches, and during cutscenes, I'm as much watching the character's face as I am hearing the dialogue to understand their emotions or what's happening and where the scene's going. Thinking.
Matt, if you're doing that, you wait, in a couple of chapters' time, that's going to hit home even more. Like, it really is. It's very, very clever. Like, very well done. And I can't wait to push on. Jo walked into the front room the other day and I was sitting playing it, and she went, oh, she laughed at me, and I said, what? She said, why are you like leant forward like that with your knees with your elbows on your knees? Like, and I just went, fuck, because I'm so into this. Like, I'm really wrapped up in it. What a way, what a game, man. Naughty Dog are fucking good, They're good at what they do.
They're all
There's
right.
no doubt about that.
I'll tell you, I mean, already just playing it, I was thinking like Last of Us 2 and what that's going to be like.
Do you want that to be next, or do you want new IP next?
I mean, Last of Us is one of my favourite games of all time. I would love a sequel will be coming. I'll also be happy with a new IP, but just seeing the graphics and I feel like it feels like they've learnt a lot of stuff from Last of Us. It does feel way more Last of Us-y than previous Uncharted games.
Do you know what I'm
obviously
not
because
looking
Last of Us
to?
has come out since the last Uncharted game, but you can tell there's a lot of influence for what they've learnt in that game.
Do you know what I'm not looking? Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. There's a lot of influence from that game seeping through into this. Yeah, for real. Like, I mean, you look at that opening scene in The Last of Us, and although nothing so far has been that dramatic in Uncharted 4, you can see that they've learnt from that shit, and they wanted to bring it into the Uncharted series, and they fucking nail it. They really nail it. The one thing I'm worried about with the Last of Us 2 reveal is the Twitter comments that are inevitably going to come out. Turns out it wasn't the last of them, eh, guys? Retweet, please. You know what I mean? That's the stuff I'm not looking forward to, Matthew.
You just have to get over that, Dave.
You getting this, James? Or not James? You haven't got a PS4.
No, not James.
You getting this, Sean, or what?
I'll get it in a bit when it's cheap.
I just don't understand you sometimes.
I've already got games to play, and I'm buying a fucking house.
This is
So no, I'm not coughing up 45 quid for a game that I'll play in 6 months and enjoy just as much and pay half the amount for.
This is the pinnacle of AAA gaming. Like, it's polished. It's
I know,
beautiful,
but it's not going to age, is it? Not for a while.
I don't know. Have you played Uncharted 3?
Yeah. Have you, Sean?
I haven't.
Actually, no, Dave. Sorry, I meant to mention this on the last show, but I forgot. Uncharted 3. I don't believe you finished that game.
Yeah,
I think it's
check my
impossible.
trophies. Check my trophies.
I'm not going to check your trophies. I'm too busy for that. But basically, there's a lot of spiders in that game. There's a lot of being chased by spiders.
It's
spiders
horrific.
go all over your face, probably at points. It's horrific. I don't really care for spiders. So I'm not really bothered by spiders, but some bits are a bit sort of, there's a fucking load of spiders chasing you down a tomb. I just don't believe you finished that game.
Yeah, it killed me, Matt.
There are other games, I'm sure, when you said, "Oh, guys, do you remember the big spider?" and the big spider was some cartoony thing, or it was just, it wasn't, it didn't even, I don't even remember it. Whereas this is very clearly huge spider chase sequences.
There's a few things that I can get. There's a few things that I can get away with. One of them, with that, they didn't really, for the most part, they were in the dark, so I was able to deal with it. Right?
Isn't that worse?
The bit went no because they're fake. They're not here. If I can't see them in the game, fine. I don't care. I mean, if I can't see them in my front room, I will freak the fuck out and have a heart attack. Like what was it? That wrestler guy. I feel for him. The big fat sumo wrestler guy.
Who died because he saw a spider?
Yeah, didn't he die? Wasn't that the story that he was in a hotel? He used to hire people to go into his hotel room and clear out any signs of spiders. And then he once went into a hotel room, saw a spider, and had a heart attack. I'm sure that's right.
I don't know of that story. I don't.
See, I can imagine, like, if I had the money, because I used to think, like, when I was a kid, like oh yeah, if I won the lottery, I could put like laser grids in all the air vents and stuff.
Brilliant. You should still do that, Sean.
The plug hole in the bath. Nothing's getting in. So yeah, I can imagine, like, if I was just, like a mild celebrity, yeah, I'd pay some guys to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, he's my brother. I'm totally with him on that. But
Sean, sorry, if you're a Big Brother and you made it, the first thing you do is just install lasers everywhere.
Yeah, basically. Well, no, I mean, just in my own house. I don't have to.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know. Other people are fine with spiders, right? It's just me.
Yeah,
So...
but there are certain like, for example, because the next game you're going to stream is Dark Souls. I'm announcing that now, Matt. You are going to stream Dark Souls.
Don't, Dave.
That's the next game catching up. Dark Souls Season 2. Matt Murray, get on it.
I've definitely been thinking about it, but
you're doing the whole series.
It's a genuinely scary proposition.
No, just number one. Just number one. But
you never know. See how he goes, man. You might get
definitely
a
do
thirst
it,
for it.
Matt.
He might plow right the way through.
Let's park this.
Season 2 coming soon. Yeah. So the what we were saying. Yeah. So the enemy in that was Quelaag. Is a giant spider. But I was okay with that one because it moved. It didn't move like a spider. It moved like a tank.
Yeah. The movement is a huge part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
These ones, I don't know. I don't know how I got through it, but I did. And I never want to go back. And like, it freaked me out watching your stream. Like, I was going on, like, this is grim. I don't like this.
but basically, Uncharted 4 looks stunning. Can't wait to play some more. And yeah, I'm going to crack on with it after this the next few days. Hopefully, be done by the next episode.
Yeah, I plan to get it done. Well, I've got to write a review for it, but I'm over halfway. I think over halfway, so I should be done by next week.
Yeah,
and I got it Thursday, I think. So yeah, Good game. Good
50
game.
quid, mate.
Well, not when you're as famous as I am, Sean. And you're as respected as me. I've paid for a game since 2008. Right. What have you been playing, Sean?
Doom.
James, you've also been playing Doom, right?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing it.
Doom sounds great.
Then go.
It is. It is great.
Yeah, I this is a game that I was expecting to not care at all about, really. I mean, I really like the earlier games, but I just thought it's another shooting game, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
it's really good.
How far in are you?
What can I say? You can't really spoil this game, can you? Because it's like not.
Yeah, it's not much of a story. I mean, that's probably unfair. I think there is a story there if you really want to go looking for it, but it's not in your face, is it?
I could probably definitely say, I'm just about to go to hell, and it's pretty obvious that's going to happen in a Doom game, so
yeah,
it's not a big deal. Yeah, I'm just about to do that.
I'm currently there, so yeah, it's wicked, isn't it?
It really is, and it looks amazing as well. Like visually, like that first part when you go out onto Mars, and you've got like the the wind like blowing all the sand like around it.
It's interesting because when Doom 3 came out and was a bit sort of survival horror-ish, like everyone was like, because this is the game that id would have made, then if they had the tech to do it.
Mm.
And it's no, probably not. Because I mean, like, it's true that people forget that Doom games are quite oppressive and kind of scary at times, but more just in terms of tension rather than like silly jump scares rather than like actual like horror. Like, but yeah, like I think this game, like it serves your memories of Doom more than the reality of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get to because I mean that's the thing. I mean, to be honest, this isn't a scary game like at all. No. It doesn't really feel scary, but also I don't really feel that it feels like a complete remake though of the original because I reckon the level design I don't think is as good as in the original ones, and also I don't think the monster design is as memorable either. I mean maybe it's going to ratchet up now I'm going to hell, but before that everything feels a bit sort of brown and looks a bit the same.
I know what you mean. It's not much of a palette.
Yeah.
Colour wise.
It's not really what Doom's about, though, is it?
Well, no.
Well, it is.
Colour.
If you look at the originals, they're all like, bright. The colours are bright in those,
yeah, I know, but like no one actually harps when they talk about Doom. They're not going, "Oh, I like the colours."
No, but people do say they like
the shooting, right?
But people do say they like the design of like what you're fighting against.
I mean, the enemies, I appreciate that they are all very distinctive in their behaviours and attributes and what have you. And I think they've kept that thing of like they're all like recognisable by their silhouette and their movement.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this constant thing of sort of managing, the types of enemies and prioritising what you're trying to kill and sort of taking into account how their attacks work and but you're doing it at just a fucking million miles an hour. You're just sprinting around constantly. Like the way a lot of it works is, you'll be moving between areas and there'll be enemies to kill on the way, and then occasionally you'll get to one of these like nests, which is basically you pull a internal organ out of it or something, and it destroys the nest. But then that signals loads of enemies to come for you, and then basically it's almost feels a little bit like a platinum game to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the pacing of it is brilliant as well. Like with that, because it's especially and the music. I'm not like a massive fan, but it does work really well with this because it's like especially with like the glory kills, which is like when you stun an enemy, which happens to pretty much all of them, and then you like do like a finisher on them, and the amount of time it does to do the finisher is just about right that it doesn't get annoying to have to do it each time.
Yeah, it doesn't break the flow. Yeah.
You like go towards somebody, like you shoot them, you hit them, to like finish them, and then you're on to the next one. And it does, it definitely feels like a platinum kind of game.
Yeah, it's just in the fact that like you get these little arenas where basically it just seals you in, and it's like right, deal with like 5 minutes worth of enemies constantly, and you just like you're fucking buzzing by the end of it. It's so good. And like I say, that like the music is, it's not my kind of thing, but for the type of game this is, it is fucking perfect.
Yeah,
and just the way it reacts to the stuff you do, and like sometimes there's like little, like, you know, when you get glory kills and stuff, sometimes there's little musical hits, and sometimes it's just weird fucking like industrial noises, and, like weird synths just going off all the time, but it works. Like, it's so, like, the sound design is just impeccable. It's so dense and just feels like grotty and angry. Like like it just perfectly serves the way the whole thing's meant to feel. And you know, like and the violent stuff. And you know, like when the trailer came out, everyone was, well, not everyone, like some people were going, "Oh, good, everyone's cheering at a violent video game, 2016, everyone," or whenever it was. And it's like, yeah, do you know what? The violence and the gore and stuff's really good. Like,
how gory does it get? Like, what's the worst thing you've seen in it?
So basically, it's all about the glory kills, as James says. You sort of, if you stun an enemy, which is sort of basically damaging them enough to be almost dead, but not quite, they sort of flash, and you go up to them and you hit the melee button, and then basically he'll do things like it varies from just like sometimes he punches them and their head explodes, sometimes he twists the neck, sometimes he like grabs like, you know, the jaw and like yanks it off and the head explodes, but it's all just cartoony, like it's just daft, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on like what angle you sort of go at the enemy from. So, like, if you do it if you like jump down and do it, then you'll like knock them to the ground and then sort of just like stamp their head or whatever. Do you know, it reminds me a bit of Bulletstorm, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot like that. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Bulletstorm was relatively gory, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Bulletstorm was fucking daft, and
but it doesn't feel like. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it doesn't feel like nasty, if you see what I mean. It's just
absolutely. I mean, it's still the sort of thing that, as a 31-year-old man, if my dad walked in on me playing it, I'd probably be a bit like, yeah, sorry.
But yeah, my wife was disgusted actually when she saw it.
But legit, like, it just sort of, it's one of those games that's like a reminder that, like, obviously games are a lot broader now, and some of them are very intelligent, but like, people who want games like Doom and hate, you know, quote-unquote pretentious indie games or whatever, it's like, no, right, because the fact that those pretentious indie games exist means that, like, no one's going to give you a hard time about games like Doom, because because you can play Doom and be like, look, right, there is this whole fucking spectrum to video games now. This perfectly and intentionally sits at the stupid end in a lot of ways, and that is brilliant, and it's fine. And just, you know, and it's great. Really enjoying it.
Have you played much of the multiplayer? The multiplayer's getting a lot of buzz.
Multiplayer's wicked. I don't know if it's going to get a look in once Overwatch is out, from me personally. But yeah, the multiplayer's really good fun.
So I've only played it a bit, and it feels. I mean, the bit that I played felt a bit like sort of Quake 3, really. That was kind of nice. There's also a level editor though as well.
There is. Have you delved into that?
No, I had a glance at it, but I've not actually.
Because there's some weird shit on there. So, like, the fact that it's called Snap Map, right? From that I got that it's just going to be like, oh right, okay, so there's just going to be like
stuff.
just like prefabricated rooms, and you just stitch them together. No, right? I've played Harvest Doom, which is a mod. Now this was from, they did like a little Snap Map jam at id Software, I think. And so this is one of the developers that made it, but he made it with the tools that anyone else has. And yeah, it's a Harvest Moon tribute made in Doom. So you have to, like, you raise plants and then harvest them and water them. And then you use that to, like, buy items that help you do
hold
this.
On. That's something that they've. So this is like Minecraft levels of.
I don't know if it's Minecraft levels, but there's like a basic sort of scripting thing so that you can set up behaviors and like sort of program things, and it's nuts.
That does sound mad.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some really interesting stuff. There's a shop that's just got this demon like cutting about in it, and he's friendly, and he's called Steven. Of course. And you just buy items off him, and and basically the whole point is like you have your little farm that's in this like warehouse, but then you go into what he calls the mines, which is like an actual shooting bit, and you have to farm items that help you in the mines, basically. And it's just like that exists. So that sort of gives you an idea of the scope of it. And there's people doing like sort of specific sort of co-op levels, and I think people are trying to do like little story-based things. Really
that sounds
interesting.
pretty cool. But then some of the base mode sounds fantastic because I saw Andy talking about it in a group chat today about a mode where you can get some poison gas and plant it at spawn points. And if you so what happens is that the idea of the game, this is literally second, third hand information. This is not, I've not played this. But apparently there's a poison gas canister in the middle of the map, and the team has to get it to the opposing team's spawn point and set it up to release the gas. From then on, if the opposing team die, they respawn in the poison gas and they're dead, like, for good. Like, that's it. They got no respawns left. But then you can deactivate the gas. Like, if you go back to your spawn point, you can deactivate it and then take it to the other team's spawn point, and it's essentially last man standing, because eventually, you'd all die once you're dead and you have to respawn inside the poison gas. That stuff sounds genius.
Yeah.
Like, that's genius. That's such a good idea for a game mode. It's like Rainbow Six Survival, but you have to earn the right to kill people off permanently. You can't just, do it as a straight from the off.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. That's pretty cool.
The multiplayer as well has all unlockable shit, if you're into that. You can customize your guy, and almost as if on purpose, one of the taunts that you start with is the Carlton dance.
Nice.
And doesn't cost you any money. So
that's always a bonus.
Yeah. And you can customize your guy, you get all different bits of armor for him. Doesn't affect your stats, just looks nice. But yeah, you've got all sort of Call of Duty style loadouts and what have you, which I guess some people might be upset by, because if you're a Doom or Quake purist, you want to be actually going around collecting the guns in the map. I think there's a bit of that. I've seen people cutting about with like massive weapons that I definitely can't choose. But the multiplayer is this nice thing as well, where there's like I forget what it calls them, but there's like an item, and if you grab it and then hold it for a certain amount of time, you then become like one of the sort of harder enemies from the campaign, so like one of the demons, and then you cut about as a demon for a bit and kill a load of dickheads, and it's good. It's a good laugh.
Yeah, sounds good. How far into it are you, James?
As I said, I just maybe about 3 or 4 hours in, I think.
Well, I'll have to you'll have to come back and tell us about it again next week.
I think it's one of those where you probably could like nail the campaign in like 7 to 8 hours, but there's tons of secret stuff.
Yeah. See, I tried. It's funny because I tried streaming it the other night, and I started doing it, and then the whole of the game had been pretty much just action, and then I got stuck just at the point where I started streaming it. And then I was like, I'm sorry.
They call that the Matt Murray special.
Hey.
There's a few jumping puzzles and stuff, but considering they're in first person, they're surprisingly good fun, I've found. They do break the flow a bit, but...
Well, the bit I got stuck at, which I'm going to just say what it was, because it's not story or anything, it doesn't matter. Do you remember there's that bit where you've got to get through, there's a door that's on fire, and you've got to try and get through it, but there's like a console in the back of the room that you've got to activate to to get rid of the flames. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
And then I spent ages trying to get through that door because it was turned out that what you got to do is you got to pick up like someone's hand and sever it.
Oh yeah, and whack it against the
And I kept looking at that guy, but I didn't see the prompts to like interact with him. So I just spent probably about 15 minutes just wandering around, just going, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm sorry anyone that was watching that, because it was the most boring thing ever.
I was watching it, James.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Nice. Okay, that's Doom and Uncharted for this week then. I'm sure we'll be talking about them again at some point, because I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about the ending of Uncharted, which is meant to be brilliant. So looking forward to that. Also, I've just popped onto the internet and found a Q&A website with the question, is it true that WWF legend Yokozuna died due to fear of spiders? How did he die? And the reply here is from someone called... Now, obviously, they filled in the name section of this website with a little bit of extra information about himself. Stuart Carapola, author of many wrestling books, available on Amazon Kindle and the Kindle app. Right. And his reply is this. No, that had nothing to do with it. I covered this in my Kindle book, Pro Wrestling Stars of the 90s, Volume 1. And basically, it all come down to his weight. There we go.
I'm glad that's cleared up.
That was a myth that, that I'd believed until I'd heard that extract from Legends of Wrestling in the 90s, Volume 1. Right.
Available on Kindle.
Should we do questions of our own?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
James, what we got?
Do you know, we've got an email this time.
Holy
Yeah.
fuck. Has it got any money attached to it? Has it got fiver sellotaped to the back?
Did you shake it to see if the money fell out before you opened the card?
Well, Matt got it, so if he has, then he's nicked it. It's not there.
I can't talk about it right now.
I thought you had some lovely new socks on.
Ooh, and a gold shirt. Solid gold.
It's really uncomfortable, but my God, am I wealthy?
Stinking rich.
Go on then. What we got?
Okay, so this is from Gavin Maxwell. And it says, great to see you come out of retirement for one last job. It's been a desolate place since Joypod finished.
Nice one. Cheers, Gav.
Okay. Got a question for this week. I've just
What was
forked
that,
out.
James?
I don't know. I've just
Little noise there.
I've just forked out. Are you gonna let me finish this or not?
It depends if you continue talking like a sim.
Finish.
Go on.
I've just forked. You're going to make me laugh now. I'm going to start laughing and I won't be able to finish this, which is kind of annoying.
Good.
Or start it.
I've just forked out £50 for Uncharted 4, and while it's given me a permanent boner, I can't help but think about the £25 I paid for Trackmania and the fact that it will be a game that keeps me replaying for a good while. Awesome track editor and that one last go mentality being the main reasons for this.
Yeah.
Uncharted will get a playthrough and a push at some multiplayer, but that's fairly short lifespan. What do you think makes a game worth its price tag, and considering the difference in price of these two games, where does that value lie?
Yeah, it's something we've talked about before, especially when Rainbow Six come out. We didn't talk about it because we weren't podcasting.
It didn't exist. Yeah.
We did not exist for those months, but it's. I think we spoke about but when we were talking about reviewing Battlefield and what we should give it and stuff, and a lot of people were saying, you'll be playing Battlefield for hundreds of hours. And my point was, you can't really put a price on assumed gameplay hours. Do you know what I mean? It's what you're paying for is the content on the disc rather than how many hours you might play the same content over and over again. Like Trackmania is incredible. Like it is an incredible game. But to me, it doesn't feel as worthy of... Not worthy. I don't feel it deserves a higher price point than Uncharted, because Uncharted is a 14-hour campaign. Like, the amount of effort that's gone into that, the amount of money that's been piled into that game, I can kind of understand the price point. Whereas Trackmania doesn't, even though I'm sure I'll put more hours into Trackmania. I think assumed playtime is not something you can put a price on, whereas content is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't think that the number of hours that a game steals from the only life we'll ever have is really a good way to measure its worth either, though. Like, it's about the things you take away from it. Like, a game, like, you know, if you look at something like, obvious example, something like Journey.
Yeah.
Which, it only takes 3 hours to finish, but you fucking think about it sometimes.
Oh, no, totally. But then do you, like, I still think that was a right price point for that game.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not saying, like, Journey therefore should have cost more. But just in terms of, like, you know, saying, oh, this game is really good value for money, you know, it stole 250 hours of my life. It's not always... I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. There's something like... I mean, I'll probably get some flack for saying this. Like MMOs. They're just these fucking huge time sinks. And yet you can be... You know, you're surrounded by people and yet you don't really engage with any of them. Whereas an evening spent playing Battlefield with your mates feels like a much more worthwhile and sociable activity. No?
Yeah, but I don't. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But I think the point that he's trying to make is that like Trackmania is an excellent game that he will spend hundreds of hours with.
Yeah.
Uncharted, also excellent, but will only last about 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Trackmania then come out at the cheaper price point, whereas Uncharted is, a full price game?
I mean, Trackmania is an odd example just because obviously so much of it comes from the community now. So you sort of like something like Uncharted 4 definitely cost a lot more to make, even though it occupies you for a shorter number of hours. But the thing with Trackmania is like it's not like the developers are still having to churn stuff out for it now. Like they set up a system and then they gave the community the keys to it and allowed you to build your own stuff. So we'll just keep entertaining ourselves with it. So it doesn't require as much effort at the end of the day. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. It's just the amount of money it took to make and the amount of effort that had to go into it.
But then I'm also thinking, right, say if Battlefield 1 came out and it didn't have a campaign mode in it, would you still expect to pay full whack for it?
Well, this is the, like Titanfall 2. They're putting one in, aren't they now? Putting in a campaign mode. And like personally, I couldn't care any less.
No, exactly. So that, for you, doesn't add any... Like, so the single-player portion of Battlefield 3, for example, that, for you, doesn't add anything for the amount of money that you're paying for it. However, if it wasn't there, you'd be kind of thinking, hold on, why am I paying this amount of money for just the amount?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's definitely a perception thing rather than it is a considered process. Yeah. It's a what do the audience expect to pay rather than how much is this worth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
The whole No Man's Sky thing when the price was announced for that, ridiculous. I mean, the reactions to people saying, "Oh my God, they were asking how much for it." You don't know anything about the game. You don't know how much is in it. What could you possibly be moaning about? Oh, that it was a small development team. Is that the problem? Is that how we, work out the price and value of a game? Is how many people worked on it? No, of course it's not. That was a load of old bollocks.
And it's like The Witness as well. Like everyone kicked off about that being 30 quid, but that's just because everyone had decided that it was 10 hours long when actually it was nothing of the sort. It was just people just genuinely had no idea. I mean, I was the same. That's why I agreed to review it. I only had like a week and a half to do it, thinking, oh, cool, well, I'll smash that this weekend and then I'll get the thing written. Fucking 2 days before the review's due, I was like sweating trying to do some of the harder puzzles. But so I say sometimes people are just misinformed. And then, in the case of, I suppose actually, No Man's Sky is a good example because obviously what I've just said about Trackmania, you could say the same about No Man's Sky. So, well, it's just fucking maths, isn't it? They're not even building everything. They're just...
Yeah.
It's just maths. It just makes itself. So why should I pay full whack for that?
It's a bizarre one. I think it is literally down to perception. Yeah. It's not down to anything other than... It's certainly not down to assumed playtime or maybe even content. I think it is literally down to what people expect to pay for a certain product. And I think
I don't even think it's that. I just think it's about whatever, I could have tons of fun playing some stupid mode of a silly game and that'd be worth 4 times what I pay for it, considering the amount of hours I put into it.
Yeah.
Or I could play Oblivion and play it for 15 minutes and say, that's not really my cup of tea. I mean, we all put hundreds of hours into Destiny.
Yeah.
And I would have played way more than I did originally, for it, just because I've got so much fun out of it.
Yeah, now you know that, but when it was originally announced, and say Destiny come out and they said, right, 100 quid, that's how much the game's going to cost, you probably wouldn't have bought it, would you?
No, because I didn't know what I would have liked about it, I wouldn't know how much time. I think a value thing is only something you can really look at after you've played a game and after you've experienced it to then determine whether you thought it was worth it. It's very hard to determine value when you purchase something straight away.
Exactly, but then that goes back to the original question. So what made Ubisoft? Did Ubisoft publish Trackmania?
They did.
Yeah, so what? I don't know if they made the decision themselves or it was more down to the devs. But what? At what point did they turn around and go, okay, this game is worth £25? Do you know
I
what I
guess
mean?
they probably just did studies or just looked into it and said, "Pooh, I'm going to pay full whack for this game."
That's it. And then it comes
We
down to
could
what I
probably
was saying.
increase
It's more about
sales with a
perception than anything
smaller-
else.
They actually, in the documentaries around Broken Age, the Double Fine Kickstarter documentary, they do a thing in that where Tim Schafer basically they get sort of people who used to work as journalists but are now like consultants or whatever. They write mock reviews of the game, and literally they are asked like, how would you write the review if this was 30 quid? How would you write it if it was 20 quid? How would you write it if it was a tenner?
Mm.
And they write, I don't know if they write different reviews, but they certainly say like, well, this is how it would colour my perception of it if it was this price instead. So then the developer looks at that and goes, well, if we charge 30 quid, it's going to take a bit of a hit on the score, but if we charge a tenner, everyone will love it, but then we'll have to sell 3 times as many copies, so... Or whatever, like it might be just that it's that good that all the reviews are like, yeah, 30 quid, fine. But that is a tool that developers use.
Weird one.
Very.
It is a weird one. We're way too underqualified to come to a final answer. But personally, I think it's more down to public perception and what they feel that they can get away with, or what the price tag they feel they can justify.
Yeah, it's whatever the market will bear at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if Uncharted, I think if Trackmania come out for full whack, looking the way it does, you know what I mean? I think...
yeah, because I had a few people who needed talking round on it because they assumed it was like 12 quid, and then when it turned out to be 30, they were like, "Whoa, no, thank you."
That's
then they
so
played
mad
it.
when you consider how good that game is.
Oh, no.
Madness. All right, should we move on? Next question.
Okay, so now we've got tweets. We've got Spilt Milk. Which computer game character do you think would taste the best as a burger?
Kirby?
Super Meat Boy?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Kirby's be too sweet. Super Meat Boy, yeah, that's the right answer, isn't it?
I think you could garnish it with like Pikmin as well. I think that'd work.
Well, it's like little peppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, peppers on burgers, totally underrated. I've only just got into that shit. Fuck me. Burger Bros in Brighton. Shout out to my boys. Yeah, they do a massive flat pepper on a burger, and it tastes incredible.
I didn't try that when I went. I had the halloumi and did I have a bit of chutney on it? Can't remember. It's fucking amazing.
That's what all my friends get. But then they have one called the Favourite Burger.
Right.
I tried that. Incredible. Just incredible. Yeah. All right.
Fucking
cool.
Burger Brothers, man. I could do a podcast just about that. I've only been once.
Why don't we do a podcast in Burger Brothers so that we can just eat that? I just want one. Joe's got it in her head that like we're going down to Brighton for her birthday in August, and I know that she's going to want fish and chips, and I'm kind of like, can I just piss off for half an hour and then just come back
I'm just
with a big grin on my face?
So many good places to eat in Brighton, man.
Yeah, but only one real. Right now, for me, straight to Burger Bros. Right. Next question. Super Meat Boy is the best answer.
Okay. Next we got Scientologist. We got, has Farley hit record? Well,
have you?
Probably, but we'll find out later. Won't we?
Should have asked that at the start of the show, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably, but we never know. We'll see. Next we got at Duke of Jam. We got scissors or shears.
What?
Do you know? I don't think I've ever used shears, so who knows? It's all to play for.
For what? What is he implying?
I've no idea. That's all it says.
Okay, scissors. Next question.
Okay, then we got Athene Allen. Will you lose the episode this week? Again, it's possible.
Yeah,
It's
it's possible when there's James
It's
Farley
always
involved.
possible.
It's proper eating him away now, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just hoping it's going to happen to one of you guys one day. You know, it's that's the meanness in me, but you know,
Definitely not.
yeah. Then we got oh man, this is going to be difficult. Okay, we got at Philball. We got Rowlett, Listen, Popolio. Where would they be best in a football team's formation?
Sorry,
I think this is
what?
this
who
is
that?
directed. I think this is directed at Sean.
Yeah, it sounds like a Sean game.
Well, hang on a minute. But not really. Because we're going to have to join forces here, Dave, because it's about the new Pokemon, isn't it?
Sorry, why am I joining forces with you over this?
Because I don't know about football team formations.
Okay, all right. Well, explain what these things do, and I'll tell you where they need to play.
Yeah,
So
Sean,
yeah.
is Listen a false 9? Can Popolo, is he good from the back?
I don't know what these words mean, Matthew.
I must admit, that just sounded like babble to me as well. Say the first one.
False 9?
False 9.
Have you not heard that term in football?
Matt, they haven't reached that sort of level of tactical.
I guess so, yeah.
The stuff down in the Championship.
So Rowlet's like
Sorry, Division 1. Yeah.
Rowlet's like a sea lion dog thing. Litten is a cat that sets things on fire.
Whoa.
And
Take it one by one. What was the first one?
Rowlet, he's like a sea lion dog. Hang on, I'm gonna have to Google this.
He's a sea lion.
Yeah.
Is Pokemon just given up now? Is it just, fuck it. This one's a
Oh no,
rabbit.
Rowlet's the owl one. Hence Owl.
And what's his special ability?
I don't know, he does
Overhead
grass
kicks.
stuff.
He could do what? Raps.
The grass stuff. He's a plant Pokemon, so
Right, he's a plant Pokemon, so he
Yeah.
could be... This is rubbish.
Can we just move on? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Anyway, got Zero Emerald. Is there anything you'd like to see in particular from the next Destiny expansion next September?
What's going to drag you back in, Matt?
I would like to start playing again. But
I like seeing
in terms
new
of what
game
they can
modes.
announce tomorrow, and I'll jump instantly straight back in. Nothing that I can think about right now. In all honesty, I do want to get started and get playing it again, but I guess then maybe I'll have an answer. But there's nothing right now they can announce. So I'm like, oh my god, they've got that thing I wanted. I'm back in. Sadly.
3-man raids.
What about like
that's a good idea.
missions where you team up with like 19 other Guardians? All random, all
Yeah,
strangers.
to be fair, yeah. So so on the one end, 3-man raids. On the other end, missions where it's a fucking war.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
So you
it's
can
just
have
those
your
squads.
big big bullet sponge boss, but when there's 20 of you going at it, I'll be all right.
That
Yeah, that would be amazing. Actually,
I'm guessing the game can handle it because, I mean, the public events, they get quite loaded with people, don't they?
Yeah.
Hmm.
kind
if
of.
you have
I mean,
like
you
your
don't see more
multiplayer
than like
matches.
12 to 15 people on
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, that mass scale battles, that would be good. But I just know that next time that disc goes in my PS4, that's it. I'm going to be hooked again for another few months. Because I'm itching to get back to it. And I know once I get back to the tower for the first time, I know I'm going to be like, right, okay, that's it. That's all I need to do now for the next.
Let's do it, Dave. Once
there's
once
already
Uncharted 4's
some-
done.
There's
Let's
already
do it.
some pretty good new stuff, yeah.
Okay, we'll go back to it, Matt.
Yeah, I haven't played since the new patch dropped, so there's probably loads of stuff I need to relearn.
Yeah,
That
man.
Although
is,
you
that's
better
what's the
start-
thing that puts me off, actually. You know, because I feel like once a patch drops, you've got to relearn loads of things, so many changes. It takes a couple of hours or a few hours for you to learn all the changes, what happens with this new thing they've done,
Yeah.
which is a bit off-putting, but I'm eager to get back, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is, but by the time you get finish Uncharted and that, you're only going to have a little bit of time with Destiny, innit? Before you start Dark
Before I
Souls
start
again.
Dark Souls, yeah.
Season 2, catching up.
You don't sound I'm
Twitch.
genuinely scared about that prospect. but-
Computer show. Sorted. Go get us followed. Right. Is that it? We got one
One
more?
more.
There's one more. We got at Buscalilly. We've got what happened to Frodo's wife.
Don't get that.
No, I
Did you
don't
have a
either.
wife?
We got some fucking weird listeners, haven't we, boys? Right, okay, that's the end of the computer game show. Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure. Matt's going to do some talking.
Yes, I am. The Computer Game Show is available on iTunes. Please subscribe
it's
and leave us a
iTunes.
review. That would be awesome.
right,
We're
leave
also
us a
available
review.
on Overcast,
Overcast.
Pocket Cast if you're on
Pocket
Android,
Cast. No one uses that.
Tuning
Android.
Radio, Stitcher. Pocket
Stitcher.
Cast is all right.
Didn't even know Stitcher existed.
Anyway, please
Here
be
we go.
okay, Dave. What do you want?
Please
What's your problem?
Go on. Carry on, Matt.
Listeners, do you
now.
want to be like Gavin Maxwell? Do you want to send an email in next week? Because you can
Send them
do
in.
by sending a message to
Send
the
them
computer
in.
game show at gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Oh, Dave. You don't know how hard this is to do when I've got echo
I think
in
he
my
knows exactly how
earphones.
fucking hard it is.
Anything else, Matt?
We're on, you know, social media. Go on social media and find
Go
us.
on
We're there.
Get us some follow and retweets. I've got some good news as well, Matt.
Hit me.
I managed to, because although James didn't hit record, the three of us hit record. I managed to save the moment that I created the new sign off.
Amazing. I've
Here
got
it
to hear
is
that.
now.
And we're also obviously at twitch.tv/the computer game show.
What's our
individually on-
PayPal account for people
Yeah,
to just give us money?
paypal.com/money. We're also obviously individually on Twitter. Dave is at David Turners, Sean is at Captain Toss, James is at JCA Farley, and I'm at Matt Murray.
There we
Also on
go.
Spong.com, there's another podcast called The Sausage Factory. It features interviews with developers and talking about how they're inspired to make games. So give that a listen as well.
There we go. I think that covers us, right?
That is
We
the
done?
admin. That is the yeah.
Okay, cool. I will catch you all next week. Thanks for living it.
Thanks for living it, baby.
Thanks for living, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
That's the new sign off.
Thanks for living it.
Thanks for living it. Alright.
Are
Cheers,
we going to
boys.
record a proper outro, or is that done?
No, that's done.
Okay.
Thanks for living it. So there we go. That's it. End of the Computer Game Show episode 6. We'll be back next week with more opinions and utter inane bullshit over shit that we don't really know about. More guesswork. Plenty more guesswork. Thanks for living it. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. It looks amazing as well. Like
Yeah.
it, like visually, like you know that first part when you go out onto Mars and you've got like the the wind like blowing all the sand like around,
Yeah.
just superb. I mean, this is like what when I think of like what it was like when I played Doom when I was a child.
Mhm.
I was a child when I was a young person. Could we cut that bit because that's fucked? Sorry.
No.
What?
Carry on.
No, we're not because that's really terrible. I don't know where I'm going with that.
What?
But yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't even catch what you said.
Exactly. That's why. Could we cut it? Because it was messed up.
What I heard it was perfectly clear on my one.
Go on.
Okay. Okay. Where am I starting from? Where should I
Wherever
go?
you want.
I don't know what the problem is.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. So yeah, when I don't know where I'm going. Sean, can you start, please?
I don't know
He's
where I'm
hit the eject
starting
button,
from.
lads. How can we not keep that in now?
No, that's terrible. Please
I
don't.
don't.
It's
What was the
interesting, right?
problem?
Because it's interesting because when